right, and we're officially live. Hello, everybody. My name is Wes.
And I'm John.
And today, we're going to be showing you around the software as we talk about automating your church with processes.
And before we get started, if you're not already subscribed to our Facebook group, we encourage you to do so. It's a great way to interact with other ChurchTrac users, share ideas, and gain insight on how others are using the applications. So you can find that description below.
Yep, it's in the details below the video here. And that's just such a great place, John, I even see a lot of churches sharing their Church Connect pages and stuff. So definitely check that out. Now, I always like to kind of keep us on point of what we're talking about today. And so here's what we're going to cover in this webinar. First, we're going to talk about why you should automate your church with processes. And then we'll dive into creating and starting your first automated process. And then we'll talk about measuring the progression of a process, because at the end of the day, John, if you can't measure it, then it's kind of pointless. So you need to be able to keep track of these things. And then we'll finish things off with talking about some other process ideas that you could utilize this for. So there you go.
Yeah, and as we go through this workshop, we will have our team in the chat to assist you with any questions you might have, but keep in mind at the end of the presentation, we're going to have a live Q&A mode where we'll answer all of your questions.
Yeah, and we're going to do our best to try to answer those questions. I know sometimes we get stumpers, as we call them, but I think we'll be able to get them all today.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. All right, well, let's go ahead. Let's get started. And first answer the question, why even automate with processes? So when it comes to church admin, there are a lot of repetitive, or could I say maybe mindless tasks that we do, John? And these are things that we perform that take up a lot of time.
Yeah, and these church admin tasks, they don't require us to think critically. They're just generic day-to-day things. Most of them we can do in our sleep.
Yeah, we really can. These are things that, we're probably doing while we're listening to like the radio or podcast or something. And some of these tasks could be like emailing follow-ups to guests or like members, maybe emailing a pastor or leader about doing some sort of follow-up perhaps, or notating people in our database, assigning a tag, texting a specific leader about something. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Right.
And so with processes, we can really cut down the time that we're spending just doing all these tasks in our database. Things that, we may be spending out a couple hours a week to do, we can maybe do in just a few minutes completely. So let's go ahead and let's dive into it. Now, before we start showing, what does this even look like? How do we automate our church and do all these tasks and everything with processes? We first need to get a baseline. Don't you think so, John?
Right.
So I have John here. John's going to go ahead and start sharing his screen. And I'm going to have him do a follow-up on just a new guest that's come to our church, and just doing kind of some typical tasks we do in our church database. So let me get my trusty, handy-dandy stopwatch out. And I'm going to time John to see how long it takes him to do all these things. And I've already picked out a person in my database.
Okay.
So John, you can go ahead and go over to that people screen, and let's go ahead and select our person.
All right, so looks like we're going to start with Mike Adams.
Mike
correct?
Adams, yeah. So Mike Adams, he is a new guest, so don't start yet. Let me start timing you.
Okay.
And go. All right, so the first thing that I want to do, John, we need to get an email over to Mike, just thanking him for, visiting the potential church here. So what John is going to go ahead and do is send Mike Adams a quick email.
Okay.
And he actually already copied and pasted this because this is an email he does all the time. So he's going to go ahead and send an email to Mike. And this is going to be hard.
Spell right.
This is going to be hard for him because I'm sitting here talking while he's trying to type. So I know the struggle. There you go. That was good. All right. So got an email done. And then all you would have to do is hit send. And there we go. We sent an email to Mike. All right, John. Now the next thing I want you to do, I want you to go ahead to Mike's profile and let's tag him as a seeker. And the reason we do this at our church is simply because we have a flow of discipleship that we use, and so we're going to tag him real quick.
Okay, so we're going to go to the tag tab on Mike's profile here and select add tags. You said seeker.
Yep.
And it looks like we have seeker added to Mike's profile.
All right, fantastic. All right, next thing, John, we need to notate Mike's profile, that we actually started this. So go to his notes and just say that we started a follow-up process with Mike.
Gotcha. All right.
And let me know in the chat if these are kind of some of the similar processes that you all do, well, not processes, but tasks, let's say, in your database. All right, John, you got that done. All right, let's go ahead and, I got another one. Let's go ahead and go to Mike's details and put in today's date, because this is the date we reached out to him for the first time, and I want to have that recorded.
Got it. And this is a user-defined field, so we're going to go ahead and select the current date, and that has been added.
All right, and then hit done. He's not used to the trackpad there. He's always using his mouse. All right, and I tell you what, John, one last thing I want you to do here is we need to probably text me, the pastor, because here's the reality. I'm probably going to forget to do something unless you text me about it and send me an extra reminder. So go ahead and send a text reminder to me. Weston ChurchTrac, I think, is me in the database. And so he can actually send that text message straight to me from the software. He doesn't have to jump out of the software to do this.
Okay.
And so he's just basically typing me. And this is kind of typical stuff we're doing in our church, reminding the pastor, that, hey, we have someone for you to follow up with. Here's their info, things like that. So John's going to go ahead and get that out. And you're typing pretty quick, John. Wow. All right. And then go ahead and send that message.
Sent.
All right. And there we go. And you can send it as soon as possible. Right. And there you go. And I think my phone, there it goes. It is getting ready to vibrate now. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the clock. So what do you think your time was?
3 minutes and 21 seconds.
You actually did really fast. And part of the reason he went so fast is because he knows the software like the back of his hand. But you did this in right at 3 minutes flat, which is really fast. But all right, John, you did all that. You did a great job. I want you to do this for 10 more people.
10 more people. Does everybody have 30 extra minutes?
No, we're not going to spend 30 minutes to that. So as you can see, it doesn't take too long to put in all these tasks, but this was just one typical kind of data entry situation here when we have someone that's new that we're trying to do a follow-up process with. But think about all the other things that we're doing in our databases, and oftentimes we're doing these things over and over again, and a lot of them are just, I hate to use the word mindless because it makes it sound like we don't know what we're doing, but they're just things that we can do while multitasking and other things. So let's go ahead and do this. Instead of having to do all these things manually, let's show you how you can automate everything that John just did. So that stuff that you were punching in and typing out, we're going to automate it and make it only take about 2 seconds to do. You ready for this?
Let's go.
All right. So here is how we automate our church. So this is going to all take place in the Processes tab. So that's on the People screen. And then you're going to go to Process Setup is where that's located. And John, if you could kind of zoom in on it real fast just so people can see that in case they're watching on a smaller device. All right, so that's where the Process Setup is. And so to start a new process here, we're just going to click Create New Process.
Got it.
All right, and you can name whatever you want this process to be named, John.
There we go.
All right, and then we need to go ahead and create a first step for this process. So you can go ahead and add that first step, and you can just name it, automated follow-up or whatever.
Okay.
And just make it due in a day, we'll say. And so you can actually create different due dates and everything here, and also have like a default status, which the default status for this, we can just make it in progress. Why not?
Sure.
In this situation, it won't matter if we keep it blank or in progress, and you'll kind of see why. All right, so we've gone and said this is what we want to do. We want to create an automated process, but we can't just sit here and talk about it all day. We've got to put some action to this. So that's when these action steps come into play. And so we're going to start creating a new action for this step. So John, click that. And the first action I want you to do, John, is I want to send an email.
Okay.
So whenever we start a new process, automated process for a person, I want to send an email to that individual.
Got it.
There you go. And then the email subject, maybe it could be thanks for visiting potential church, perhaps.
Sure. Okay.
And this is just a good, like, this, and then keep in mind, this is like an automated email we're sending people, so this is just kind of like a good generic thing. And then, John, let's go ahead and paste that message that we used last time in here. And so this is the message that it's going to send automatically to people when we start this process.
Got it.
Now, John, what's that little...
I'm trying to highlight it here. Okay, so anything in a curly bracket, name, address, phone, or email, it'll actually take data from the person that you're doing the process on and replace the curly bracket and everything inside with the actual data. So in this case, it'll say, "Hi, Mike," and it'll do that automatically for the other brackets that are available as well.
Awesome. All right. And so we've got all that here. Okay, so we can go ahead and add this action. And I'll tell you what, can we zoom in a little bit more on the screen itself just to kind of help people see? Let's see if it's too much. If not, that may work. Okay, so we'll keep it at that. All right, so we've got that first action step completed. So now let's go ahead and let's move along and create another action step. And this one I want to be a tag.
Okay.
So add a new action. And so what we're going to do is have a tag be added to a person when we start this. And the tag I want to do is going to be that seeker tag we used a little earlier.
Okay.
And again, you can use any tag you want. It just comes down to how you've set up your tags and how you do discipleship or just organizing your people here. So add this action. Okay, so we got that one, John. Let's do update first contact to current date as well. So that way, when we start this process, this automated process, it's going to automatically put in today's date.
Okay.
And so in the action you want to perform, that'll be a user-defined field like you were mentioning earlier.
Looks like we have first contact by default, so I'm going to go ahead and add this action.
Okay, good. Hope everyone's staying with me here. If not, it's okay. We can come back and talk about things more because this process it seems scary at first, but once you get used to it, it's like the best thing since sliced bread. All right, so we got update to today's date. So we got 3 so far. How about... All right, let's create a note as well. So add another action. And on this action, it'll be create a new note. And so this is really cool. So it's going to create a new note, and you can actually select the note category it's going to add that note to.
Okay.
So let's do the category. I think we have one for outreach or follow-up. And let's create a note reminder. This would actually be good. And create that note reminder for me.
Okay.
So it's actually going to make a note reminder for me when I log into ChurchTrac. I'll see my reminders to follow up with this person here. And then you can use the curly brackets again. So let's go ahead and we'll do it. Actually, in this case, you don't even need to because it's going to be on the note on the person. So,
Right.
yeah.
Follow-up email completed, right?
Yeah, follow-up email
something like
completed. Yeah. That's perfect, John. That way I know I can look at the notes on this person's profile and know, okay, the next steps for me as a pastor is to reach out to them. All right, add that action. And, oh man, this is getting crazy. All right, we're going to have 2 left. Let's do another one. I want you to send a text message to me because I'm forgetful and sometimes I need to be reminded to reach out, especially if I didn't log into ChurchTrac yet. So send an SMS to a user and you're going to do, so the West. And let's use the brackets and you can just tell me their name and their phone number so I know who to reach out to.
Okay. And
I tell you what, don't even use to save room. Let's take off the first part of the name.
Sure.
So just do name in the curly
Curly
bracket
brackets.
and then phone.
That's...
Yeah. So basically, this is what's cool. So whenever I get this text message, it's going to say, you have a new guest to follow up with, Mike at such and such phone number. And this is all automated. This is crazy. All right, so add this action. And all right, one last one. All right. Yeah, everyone's probably watching this like, oh my gosh, are they going to stop with all these automated actions? I want one more just because we're kind of doing this to show off a little bit. But so let's send an email to a user and make that email go to me too. Just in case I get the text and then I forgot I got the text. This is a really good way to hold your pastor accountable, by the way.
just spam them.
Yeah, just like you tell your pastor 3 different ways. There's someone for you to follow up with. Now keep in mind, this can be beyond follow-up, but we're just using follow-up as an example. So you have a new guest follow-up, and then John can even put an intense email message there, and we'll just keep using the name with the curly bracket and everything too. Yep. Why not? And so that way, basically, as a pastor, when I log into ChurchTrac, I'm going to see a note reminder. I'm going to get a text message as well. So there's 2 ways I know. And I'm going to get an email letting me know that I need to reach out to this specific person. So at this point, I am very much in the loop of who I need to reach out to. So great. So that's just a quick message John made, and that's perfect. So, all right. I think that's a lot of actions. I think we can stop here for the automated. I think your finger's about to fall off from all the typing here. All right, we've created the process. How you feeling about it so far?
Oh, I think it's going to be a lot faster than 3 minutes, so we'll take a look shortly.
Okay, all right. So, John, let's start this process on a guest, shall we? So the process we just created, our automated follow-up, we're going to go back to our people screen.
Okay.
And we're going to switch gears. So he's going to go to a smart list that we have for all of our guests. And we're going to go ahead and pretend that, okay, we've got people that have visited our church for the first time, and we want to go ahead and start our automated follow-up process with them. And so let's pick Josh Atkinson. That's a good person there.
Got it.
And so to start a process on this particular person, all John has to do is go to that Processes tab and zoom in on that just so everyone can see it a little better. There you go. So that Processes tab, and then you just select what process you would like to start. And in this case, we're going to do that automated follow-up we just created. And the system's going to ask, do you want to do this process? And we're going to say yes. All right, now, in one mouse click, John is about to make all these things laid out here happen. Ready?
Let's do it.
All right, so you just did that. So in one mouse click, all these things just happened. Follow along with us here. So the first thing that happened is an email got sent to that individual. So the email that John typed up there a minute ago, that automatically got sent to that person. Then that person got tagged as a seeker. So why don't you jump over to the tags. Look at that. Tag as seeker is already there. All right, so back to the processes. Next, the first contact was updated to today's date. So let's see if that happened.
There it is.
First contact, all right. And all right, what's the next thing? So first contact and then a new note. So let's take a look at the notes for Josh here. There we go. Follow-up email completed, awaiting a phone call from the pastor. The computer did all this, not us. We just programmed it to do that. All right, and then the next thing is it sent an SMS to a user. Let me actually, so I'm checking my text messages right now. And there we go. You have a new guest to follow up with. Follow up with Josh Atkinson at, and then it gives me Josh's phone number. What's so cool is I could just dial that number right now from my phone.
There you go. Yep.
So, boom, there we go. And then it also sent an email to me. So I'm checking my email right now. And let's double check and see. See if you programmed it correctly there, John.
We'll see.
And there we go. You have a new guest to follow up with. There's their name and everything, Josh Atkinson. All right. And so all that stuff happened in, 1 second?
Right.
So, like, when people say, oh, give me 2 seconds, you literally can do this in 2 seconds after you program it, obviously, and everything. So let's go ahead and do this process for a few more people, John.
Gotcha.
And we'll just go down the line of a few of these. So Sandra, and he's going to start the automated guest follow-up, okay, and then completed. All right, so that one's done. Do Alyssa, why not? So we'll start the process for Alyssa.
One thing, it's a small detail, but I love how the Processes tab stays open, so you can run right down this list and just continue to complete these.
Yeah.
Oops.
It helps out a lot, especially when you're going through a lot of data. That's kind of one thing we always try to do when we're thinking of how to design things in our software, the least amount of clicks possible.
Right.
So you can get what you need to get done and then move along to the next thing because we know you're doing a lot in your ministry. All right, John, now we've shown everybody, number one, why automating your church with processes is just such a win-win here. And we've shown how to do it and walked through the entire start to finish of creating this follow-up here. But we need to be able to monitor this stuff. We need to be able to see a list of the people that have completed a process or something.
Right.
And so how are we going to do that?
Well, we can actually go ahead and create a smart list. So,
All right. And just for those of the people out there that don't know what a smart list is, just in your words, what is a smart list?
a smart list allows you to add in certain criteria that will kind of filter out just members who that criteria pertains to.
Correct. So, John, let's go ahead and start a smart list. Why not? We're going to have fun with this.
Okay.
Let me know in the chat what kind of smart list you've created. I'm just kind of curious.
I'll just name it completed automated follow-up.
Yeah, that sounds good. And one thing worth noting here, can you zoom in on the include names that match all and match any? I just want to show everybody this. This is just kind of a little added bonus, but when you're creating a smart list, you can actually have a smart list pull all the names from everybody that matches all of the criteria you specify or any of the criteria. And that's just good to remember when you're doing this, because sometimes people will wonder, well, why is my smart list not generating properly? Sometimes it's because they accidentally have match all instead of any or any instead of all. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so let's add some criteria here.
Got it.
And so the criteria for this, we're going to keep this one really simple for this. So how about, so we'll select that first one. So it will be, I think it's the process. Just start searching. Yeah, so process step.
Okay.
And then we'll click that, and it's completed.
Right.
So for the automated one, yeah, so all the way at the bottom there. So process step completed for automated follow-up. And so that's it. So this smart list is literally just showing the people that have matched that. And I saw that we had 2 on there. Maybe we accidentally had another one, but that's okay. So now when we go to show matching names, there we go. So those 3 people that we just created that process for just a few minutes ago, and we then added it and completed it, they're on that list. So we can already see at any time and point who's completed different steps of a process and things like that. And this is just so great because this goes well beyond just follow-up process, which is a perfect segue to talking about some other ways we can utilize this. So John, what are some other good examples that you can just think of the top of your head that we could utilize processes for?
Yeah, so you could use processes for a new member class, background checks, visitation, prayer requests, counseling, you name it.
Yeah. And I know at first when you're looking at it, you're like, oh, how do I do that? My biggest encouragement when you're using processes is just to start creating a process. But before you start creating the process in ChurchTrac, I always like to bring people back to the foundation of just kind of thinking through, like, what are some processes in our church that we can utilize that are going to save us a lot of time, but also just kind of keep things standardized.
Yeah.
And so get with your team and kind of talk through that. And I always just, I know it sounds kind of antiquated in our day of time with technology, but I always just get a piece of paper and just start drawing it out and kind of visually mapping out what a process would look like at your church and how you can follow it. And I'd say the last thing I would say is probably try to keep things simple over being complex and trying to do too much. Now, in this case, so going back to our process, show them that process again, John.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, normally I wouldn't recommend having so many action steps in a process. But this entire webinar, we're talking about automating your church with processes. And so in a situation like this is perfectly fine to have all these action steps in here. I mean, if you wanted to, you could have added like 2 or 3 more if you wanted.
Right.
But in a case like this is perfect because we're able to have the system do all this legwork for us. And that way it just saves us a lot of time. Now, John and I could sit here and talk a whole lot about processes and everything. But we've hit that point where I don't want to keep harping on it because we've gone ahead, we've explained kind of how to do it and everything. And so what we're going to do is move into this next time of just Q&A. We're actually going to close out the chat and just open up our Q&A. And I think our team's going to give a graphic of just what that looks like in case you've not done this before. But what this means is you'll be able to just submit your questions to us here, and we'll answer them here in real time. If you're watching this later on, unfortunately, you can't ask a question, but in real time, you'll be able to ask a question. If you see other questions that you think are good, you can actually like those, and bump them up to the top, and we'll start answering your questions here in real time.
Yeah, and while everyone enters their questions, I just want to remind everyone about our Facebook group one more time. Again, it's a great way to interact with other ChurchTrac users. There's also our YouTube page. So if there is a tutorial that you'd like to see or a webinar replay, you can actually go to our YouTube page and watch those. And I suppose if you do have any questions afterwards, you could either comment in the YouTube section or comment on the Facebook group about that. You're also welcome to submit a support ticket. The support ticket, if you want us to take a look at your process, whether something's not working right, or if you just want some insight on that, feel free to submit a ticket and our support team will help out with that.
Yeah, and John, this is the first time you've actually been on camera with me here, but
Right.
John's actually one of our support team people here, and he's answering the questions all day long, and I'm sure you get like just all across the board of questions of how to do different things in software.
Right, you name it, anything.
Yeah, and by the way, another thing, when it comes to getting help, John, show them the green help button here. So that green help button, anytime you get stuck in the software, you can actually just click it and it will show you some good related help topics. Mm-hmm. And then show them showing all help topics just so they can see in case they didn't know. But that's our online user guide. And what's so cool about that is you can go through and look at things that are specific to a particular topic. Many of these online user guide articles, we actually have like videos attached to them and stuff like that. And so definitely check that out. And let's say, see that schedule a phone call button? That's just great too, because if you ever get in a situation, I've had this happen, John. People call me an old soul because I still go into the bank instead of the ATM, but sometimes I just got to talk to somebody because I just don't know how to like verbalize it in a chat or, type it out. And so you can schedule a phone call with us too. So not many companies let you do that. Most of them just try to make you do a support ticket, and we think that's crazy. You should be able to talk to someone if you need to. So, all right, well, I can see a couple questions here. Let's see what we've got going on here. So the first question is from Bruni. And the question is, the person before me created some processes, and I don't know how she created them or what they do. Can I delete those? You absolutely can. And the only thing I would just double check with anybody else who's a ChurchTrac user, just to make sure that they did not create that process for a specific reason and they're currently using it right now. But if you know that no one's using those processes right now, then I would go ahead and delete them if you're genuinely not using them and you don't even know what's going on in them. Sometimes it's best to start with a clean slate. John, could you show them real quick just the process of deleting a process?
Yeah, and I just need to get back to the main screen here.
Oh, okay.
I'm not quite sure where that went, actually.
Try zooming out all the way. You might have zoomed in too much.
I think I am zoomed out.
Oh, that's so crazy. Well, I'll give him a second to pull that up while he's doing that. Sometimes technology doesn't quite work the way you want it to. But what you do, you actually, just to kind of tell you here, you actually just go and click the process, and then you have the option to delete that process. So you should be able to see that. John's getting everything pulled up now, and he'll be able to do it. They're saying close the tab, John. Tell you what, give John a hand. You're doing a phenomenal job.
That's not working out either.
For your first time showing everybody how to do everything. So I'm going to go ahead and answer this other question here that we've got, and this is from Rona. Rona says, will this webinar be available to watch again? Yes. All our webinars we actually repost. And so as I talk, someone's probably watching this, for 3 days from now. So just check out our YouTube channel, and you can check out not only this webinar here, but all of our previous webinars that we've posted, as well as a lot of videos that we've got just showing how to use different aspects of the software. Just a great tool. So going back to processes now that John's got it pulled up. So to delete a process, you just go to your process setup. And then you just select the process.
And you can actually remove individual actions, or you can delete the entire thing by clicking on this trash can icon over here to the right-hand side.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is if you need to delete a process on just a person, you can just go to that person. So let's show them what that looks like, John.
Okay.
So we'll go to one of our random guests here. So he can go to our guest smart list.
All right.
and there's Mike. So, or we didn't. Yeah, we did one. So now you can actually remove this process for this person. So in a situation, if you had to do that, you can. All right. I see another question here, and zoom in just a little bit, John. That way people can see a little better. So how do you assign access for different leaders who need to perform this or other tasks? That's a really good question. I'm going to repeat it again. So how do you assign access for different leaders who need to perform this or other tasks? How do you do it, John?
Putting me on the spot here.
I am. That's all right. I'm your lifeline if you need me.
So you're asking how to assign.
So how to basically assign what a person can and cannot do in ChurchTrac.
Oh, you mean in the settings area? Is that what we're getting at? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So in settings, you will have these user accounts here.
And so just to reiterate, he went to settings and then user accounts.
Mm-hmm. And you can select any user you like. You do have to have admin privileges to be able to do this, but should you have those privileges, you can actually go through the list of configurations and enable or disable anything that you need to.
Can you zoom in a little bit more? Just my eyes are failing me, so
Sure.
I'm having a hard time seeing.
Yeah.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah, so you can see, so ChurchTrac actually enables you to really customize what a person can and cannot do as a ChurchTrac user. And so you can see that not only can we limit what screen a person can access, but we can limit what things a person can access as well on a screen. All right. So good question there. So let's go ahead and see, I've got another question here. Let me pull up. This is process related, but it may not be the point of this seminar. So, oh, I see multiple. So, sorry, I'm trying to get to the bottom of this question. So, there we go. Our biggest issue is getting contact info for newcomers, even after they've attended a few times. That's a really, really good one. So, there are a lot of different ways you can get information for your people because, I mean, as we just showed you, doing a process on a person is great, but if you don't even have information like an email address or
Right.
phone number, then it's really not going to help you because you don't have no way to send.
Right.
So I would encourage using Church Connect. If you want to know more about Church Connect, just take a look at our online user guide. We've got some videos on it. But you can create form cards in Church Connect that work stupendously well for getting people's information, or you just encourage them to create a Church Connect profile, which is really easy for them to do.
Mm-hmm.
So can we show the new member process? So I can go back and show the new member process. So Thomas was just wanting to see the new member process again. So let's just go back to that process set up real fast. I just want to show everyone what it looks like again, just because we were flying. So automated follow, there we go. And so John will zoom in a little bit just so everybody can see that, and I'll take that question away. But basically everything that happened in this, again, we sent an email to the individual. What else did we do, John?
We added a tag to that individual's profile called Seeker. We also updated the user-defined field that we created called First Contact. So it actually selected today's date. And then we created a note on the member's profile. We also sent a text out to the pastor as well as an email.
Yep, so a lot going on there. And again, we did all this just to show you kind of the process of creating this automated process. You don't have to, you're your own church. And so every church is unique, and some churches may only have a few different actions they need to do to automate, whereas other churches may want to do more than what we just did here. So it really just comes down to what it is you need. I see another question here. So this one is asking, if reviewing old processes, can you just edit the action items individually to make the process do what you need it to do? That's a good question. So you actually can. So when you're looking at a process, so for example, we're looking at ours right now, I can edit those different action steps if I wanted to. So let's say I wanted to edit, I don't know, what the create new note did.
Okay.
John just clicks it and then he can edit that one. Or let's say I wanted to edit that initial email that I sent all my people. John just clicks that, and right there he can go ahead and edit that email. And of course, like as time goes on, you're going to want to make sure that your emails and texts and things like that are up to snuff, and that you don't want to be sending people an email that may be referencing something that's old news. So that's a really good point. But at the same time, you can also delete those things individually. Mm-hmm. So if you find yourself in a situation where you just need to add something, and you can just easily delete something there. All right, so good question. So I have another question here. This is a good one. So can you create, and this is from Christina, can you create a process to print a form letter instead of emails? So can you? I'm putting you on the spot, John.
That's a good question. I'm not sure that I've ever attempted to do so. But these are the available action steps that you would have.
Yeah. You're right, though. Right. That option's not there. Now, maybe if we get enough churches asking about that, that's something we can look into.
Yeah.
Which is a perfect opportunity for us to plug the feature request. So, as much as we'd like to say that we're crazy smart and everything here, we're really not. We're just good at listening. And we listen to what our ChurchTrac partners tell us. And so if you have an idea of something that you think would really make the software work even better for other ministries, including yours, please let us know, because we really take that to heart. And if we get enough people asking to implement something, then we're going to really take a look at it and see if this is something we can make happen. Mm-hmm. And so if that's, when it comes to adding additional process actions and stuff, that's something we're always open-minded for, because we want to make ChurchTrac for you, not us. Right. But John, you're a real smart guy. You're definitely smarter than I am. I'm just good at acting like I know what I'm talking about here. All right, let's see here if we have any other questions. All right, so here's a question from Chad. I'm going to pull this question up here. So Chad's asking, can you schedule an automated process by date? So you cannot schedule an automated process by date. Now, as John can kind of show everyone here, the due date,
right? You
can create a due date in a certain amount of days and everything, but you cannot schedule one by date. But yeah, reach out to us and kind of let us know more information in a support ticket about what it is you're trying to accomplish. Just because there's so many different ways you can do things in the software, and this may be a situation where, just kind of thinking out loud, I feel like you could create a smart list or something that has people that are within a certain date range for something, and then to do some sort of process. That's the fun thing about processes, is there's so many different ways to do things. It just comes down to what works best for your ministry. So really good question there. Kim's says, I want that feature too. So that's something to consider. Just create a support request there, Kim. Let us know. All right, and I see, this is a good one. I've got an answer for this one. All right, here's a question. Can you make a process where you notify members who will be serving on a Sunday morning? So, no, there's not a process for it, and it'd be kind of weird to make a process for that. But have you used our worship planning and scheduling yet? Because with worship planning and scheduling in ChurchTrac, not only can you create your service outlines and everything, but you can schedule your people and have automated reminders get sent to them, just reminding them that they're supposed to be serving in a particular role. So that's not a job for processes. That's a job for worship planning and scheduling. But really good question. Really good question. All right. Well, do we have any other questions here that we can tackle together? Another hand for John, man. You're killing it.
Thank you.
I'm the fast talker, and he was able to follow me super quick there. So I wish I could type as fast as you, though.
I wish I knew how to switch between browsers.
Oh, man. Well, I think that's all the questions we have. Just an encouragement to everybody out there. Processes are one of those things that, initially when you're diving into processes and automating your church with them, they can be a little bit challenging just because there's so many options available. I mean, just going and creating an action step, and you have all these action steps you can create and all the due dates and, in progress or completed and all that. It can be a lot, but just know that all you have to do is just sit there, take some time, think through what you want to do, and then just start creating that process out. And if you need any help, all you have to do is just reach out to us. That's what we're here for. And here, I've got a question from Terry. So, a couple more pouring in here. And by the way, we don't have like any dedicated time limit here. So if all of you want to keep asking questions, let's keep bringing them. So Terry asks, can you show an example of the reminders? Because I have a reminder set up. Ooh, we can show that. Okay. So how about this? Why don't you go ahead and add a reminder action step to our current automated follow-up?
Okay. I think we did for one of them, but I can go ahead and do so again.
Or not, I'm sorry, probably not a reminder. Terry, can you tell us if you mean like a note reminder, or are you talking about utilizing the home screen for tasks? Because that's a different thing. I'm just kind of curious which one it is. But jump into the note real fast so everyone can see the note reminder.
Oh, the note itself.
Yeah.
Okay,
so,
I just want to make sure that we did. Yeah, we have a reminder, but this would be on your...
Yeah, it's going to be on my profile. So he's not going to see that note reminder, but if I log into ChurchTrac right now, I'm going to see that note reminder for that person. But yeah, so the reminder, so Terry's asking a reminder for when I teach Sunday school. So that's going to be a situation, Terry, I would probably go back to utilizing the scheduling aspect of ChurchTrac if you're trying to do something like that. But please reach out to us. Let us know kind of more specifically what it is you're trying to accomplish there, because processes do a whole lot, but there are other things in ChurchTrac that may do the job better, which kind of makes it cool is that you have all these tools built into one platform here, and it just comes down to which tool is the best tool for the job that you're trying to do. Let's see here. And I see another question here. Let's see if I can pull it up. All right, so the question about worship setup, since we're only talking about automated processes, just reach out to us, create a support ticket, or schedule a phone call with us if you want to chat more about that, because that's more in the worship realm of things. So I see that. So, all right. Well, I think that's all the questions, John. We flew through a good amount of questions. We'll just end it with this. If you need any help with processes, you know who to call. It's not the Ghostbusters. It's ChurchTrac. And if you have any input just on these webinars or other webinars you'd like to see us do, please let us know. You can always email me. It's just weston@churchtrac.com. And if you ever need help, you can always just check out our support page, watch our previous videos, check out the Facebook group, and everything else in between. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you next time, all right?
Bye.